hilarious interview from the Breakfast Club. Interview Michael Blackson yesterday. Hilarious. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, man. Very good interview. I want to touch upon a few things about the interview real quick before I take my kids to school this morning. But this interview was hilarious. First and foremost, Blackson. I didn't know Blackson had such a deep history. Obviously, they sparked up the conversation by asking him the beef between him and Kevin Hart, but I didn't know they had him and Kevin Hart go way back. And he said they first knew each other in like the 90s or something like that. So I didn't know that they had that kind of history. And they're both from Philly as well. And he was breaking down, talking about, he's really from Africa. He said he's from Liberia, which is pretty crazy because that's where my ancestry lineage comes from. I did my DNA trace analysis on AfricanAncestry.com as well as 23andMe, and it goes back to Liberia. So we have that in common. I didn't know that he, had roots in Liberia. He also mentioned that he never was a U.S. citizen. He's had a green card since forever. Came from the bottom, and became a successful comedian, which is good stuff. But clearly you watch the interview and you can tell by the whole, setup, this guy was clearly ambushed. Okay. They made it about Kevin Hart and they tried to, change the narrative by making him feel guilty about making jokes about another comedian, which is what you're supposed to do. If you're in comedy, you make jokes about things that's going on. And, Kevin Hart happens to be a comedian, and which is ironic because, Kevin Hart is the one that's making money from his own demise, his own, infidelity issues, cheating on his wife and stuff like that. And Michael Blackson mentioned that, they actually have a code. They don't go after wives and children. They go after the said target, the accuser, right? The person that actually is cheating, which was Kevin Hart. And he clearly, mentioned that in the interview. But they clearly made it about Kevin Hart. And don't you feel bad about Kevin Hart and making jokes? Blackson was like, yeah, he's a comedian. He's like, fuck that bitch ass nigga. It's the way he says it. It's hilarious. That was hilarious. But another thing he mentioned, which was pretty, had some great hindsight, or I should say foresight. Great foresight was the fact that he's coming out with his own special. And instead of taking the Monique approach by, going to a platform and say, hey, I want to do a special. What can you guys do for me? He says he's going to put up his own money, do his special, and go to the highest bidder. If not, he'll put it out himself, but he'll just sit on it until someone comes to him with an offer, right? And that's the same approach that Dave Chappelle did. But Monique, like I said before, Monique wants to draw attention and create these false narratives that don't exist for what she's trying to do, which is I've been saying since day one, talking about boycott Netflix and all this and that, when you could have did the same exact thing, put up your own money, create your own, put up your own, finance your own special, and wait for offers to come in. If not, put it out independently. That's what Michael Blackson is doing. That's what Dave Chappelle had originally did, but now it's, he got his lucrative deal with Netflix. So he put that to bed, which, I definitely had to respect. Another thing I wanted to point out also was the fact that this dude, Charlemagne, man, somebody got to check this dude with his real suspect questions. His line of questioning is real suspect when it comes to just flat out being gay. How about that? You don't ask another man how big your dick is. He asked Michael Blackson. So, he asked, not my Michael Blackson, he asked his girlfriend. And another thing also, they called up his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, Georgia Rain. which man, I'm a fan of her as well. I just knew about her on this interview. I looked her up on Instagram. I'm on his Instagram page now, but as you can see, he did a little a tweet saying that the Breakfast Club did him dirty was 3 versus 1, which it was quite obvious it was. But Georgia, I'm a fan of her. I did not know Michael Blackson was pulling somebody like this, man. She's a winner. She's a winner for real. But yeah, his girl is pretty. His girl is not only very attractive, but she's pretty funny as well. But they interviewed her out of nowhere. I don't know why they did that. That it was a TMZ style type of ambush interview, and I mentioned that I left a comment on the Breakfast Club YouTube page as well. It was a TMZ style ambush type of interview. They inserted random clips of past interviews addressing the situation of Kevin Hart and Michael Blackson. They even inserted a clip that had nothing to do with Kevin Hart and Michael Blackson and Sinbad. And Michael Blackson was like, "Sinbad's still alive?" That was hilarious. That had nothing to do with Kevin Hart and Michael Blackson at all. The producers of the show from Breakfast Club, they changed the format of this thing, and they wanted to embarrass this guy, but it backfired because for me, I became more of a fan of Michael Blackson. Got to know who his ex-chick was, Georgia Rain, and now I'm looking forward to Michael Blackson's special whenever he decides to come out, or if he comes out locally, I'll go ahead and support his work. If he comes down here in South Florida, looks like he's going to Orlando right here based off this post, March 16th through the 18th. So if he comes down to South Florida, I'll definitely support and come down to his show. Dude is hilarious, man, hilarious. But yeah, like I said, Charlamagne as his ex, Georgia Rain, who has a bigger dick? Pause. Michael Blackson or Safari? That right there alone deserves donkey of the day. When you ask a question like that question right there alone deserves donkey of the day. But the whole entire Breakfast Club, DJ Envy, Angela Lee, all of them deserve donkey of the day for this ambush style interview they did for Michael Blackson. It was terrible. They was just really on Kevin Hart. They was riding that Kevin Hart wave so hard. They mentioned that, oh well, that's the chair that Kevin Hart sat in, or that's the chair that Kevin Hart bought, right? The whole interview was about shaming Michael Blackson for making fun of Kevin Hart, which was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But anyway, like I said, it shed more light about Michael Blackson, how funny he was, how professional he was also, because, average person could have been heated. If you're going to call my ex and you're always talking about somebody else, average person would have been heated. And he handled himself very professional. I just much kudos to Blackson, man. Keep doing your thing, and he's laying the groundwork for how you be professional and how you put in work and do work. You know what I'm saying? So salute to Michael Blackson for real. So anyway, those are my quick thoughts on that interview, man. If you haven't checked out the interview on the Breakfast Club YouTube page. It's hilarious, man. And I'll be looking out for I knew about Michael Blackson for a while, but I've never, I've seen his shows on TV, but I'm gonna definitely check him out live when he comes down to South Florida. So I'm gonna definitely check him out. All right. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the interview. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the interview if you've seen it already. All right, family. Until next time, Chauncey, a.k.a. the Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.